My name is Alex Matsuo, and I am part of the Association of Paranormal Study. And it is actually a team that I started in 2011 in San Diego, California. And once I moved to Raleigh in 2013, I brought the team with me, basically. Well, I brought the name with me. And we actually have two branches now. We have the team in San Diego that's still going, and we also have one here in North Carolina. I've been investigating the paranormal for, oh my gosh, well over a decade now. I started in high school after I had some experiences that I couldn't explain. So basically, I wanted to go out and see if I could recreate what I had experienced when I was younger. And then essentially that turned into investigating for a lot of my free time. I did a lot of reading of books. I read books by the Warrens, Hans Holzer, Harold Price. There was a lot of research that I had done. And then, then in 2011, I decided I wanted to help people with their experiences, help them understand what's going on and be able to tell the difference between, what a ghost was and what might be debunkable or explained. So that basically brings me to here today. Good question. Essentially, I wanted to make sure that one, wasn't crazy when I had my experiences when I was younger, and two, I don't want to say afraid anymore because I'm not, but I wanted to understand death. I wanted to see if there was some sort of proof out there of the afterlife or that we survived after our physical bodies died. So, and ghost hunting for me is the ability or the chance to communicate with those who have passed on and who have experienced death. Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I have to say that one of my more startling stories would probably come from this theater that I investigated in San Diego, and I'm actually getting a book published by Llewellyn about this theater in October of 2015. It's called the 10th Avenue Theater or the 10th Avenue Arts Center, and there's about 3 or 4 ghosts haunting this building right now. And it's actually been an ongoing case study for the last, I want to say for the last 2 or 3 years now. It's a location that even the San Diego team still investigates on a regular basis, even when I'm not there. But this was a location where, like I said, 3 or 4 ghosts are haunting it. And there was one night I was actually taking a tour, essentially a tour through the building, and we were doing an EVP session in this room called the writing room. And I in this situation, I let the group that was visiting ask questions and whatnot, and it was starting to get rather cold in the building or in the room, and to the point where we could start seeing our breath. And from my experience in this building, whether it was as an actor, director, or investigator, I hadn't really experienced that very often, so I knew when that happened that something was up. And I got up from the circle where everyone was sitting, and I wanted to show everybody where we had heard footsteps in the ceiling and stuff. And as I went into the corner of the room, I felt something grab my leg. And I lost my cool for a second there, and I screamed. And I don't often lose my cool on investigations, but I also don't get grabbed on a regular basis. So my leg got grabbed. I screamed. Everyone asked, "What happened?" And I explained that, something grabbed my leg. And then I felt another grab on my calf. So it went from my thigh down to my calf, and I felt the grabbing again, and I screamed again. So that was probably one of my most startling experiences. And the 3 or 4 ghosts that haunt this building, one involved a little girl that fell down the stairs who died. The second ghost is a pastor who is believed to have committed suicide in the building. And he was also the youth pastor for the little girl who fell down the stairs. So it's believed that there's a guilt linked there. And then there's also a British lieutenant who haunts the theater, and then there's a fourth one that we're still trying to identify. And I guess I should also mention that this theater used to be a church, so that's why there's the Baptist pastor and whatnot. There's that connection. So, oh boy, oh, oh, geez. Well, I try to go on one. I've since I got my degree. Since I graduated from graduate school, I've been trying to go on at least one or two a month. So I got that in 2011. Then counting all the stuff I did before grad school, oh gosh, 30, 40, 50, 60. I mean, I lost count, to be honest. I've lost count, and all these investigations have ranged from client cases to public locations. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that that would make me an expert or anything in the field, but I've done a lot of investigating. So, yeah, it's a good question, though. Okay. Um, I always like to have cameras. That's one, a DSLR camera. I'm a photographer by trade, so I'm actually able to debunk a lot. But just for data collecting purposes, I like to have a camera on me, as well as video cameras with night vision capabilities. So usually that would mean a surveillance camera or handheld camcorder. Uh, Audio devices are really good as well. And then we also like to do K2 meters. I'm a little bit on the fence about the whole EMF theory that it's associated with ghosts. But there's also that point of there's tends to be high EMF when there is paranormal phenomenon happening. So and that's just more for environmental purposes. We also have a REM pod that I've yet to see go off, but when it does, I'll be very happy when I see that happen. And let's see. Also, spirit box or a ghost box. Um, I don't use phone apps, so I actually have a Shack Hack radio that we use as a ghost box, and it's actually quite interesting. The results or the responses that you get when you ask questions. So, and I'm not one to really throw a device out from lack of data or anything like that. So, if anything, for me, it's just another avenue of collecting evidence or collecting data, so to speak. So, uh, yeah, I mean, I can't really pick one as my favorite. I love it all. The greatest part is being able to communicate when it happens, communicate with someone who has passed on. You're not just to find out what death was like for them, but from a historical aspect. I mean, you're speaking to somebody from the past. You're speaking to somebody who saw a completely different world than you have. It's that opportunity to really just get to know the past and get to know history a little bit, and in essence kind of get to know ourselves, because one of the biggest things I've learned is ghosts are people. They're humans just like us. So I guess it would be a mix of the communication, and also going through the evidence review and getting to hear the responses, and possibly picking up stuff that you missed as well. um, Also, the historical research. Love the historical research aspect of it as well. It depends on the nature of the case. I'm very honest with my team members when they sign on to investigate with me. There's a chance, you could be physically hurt or spiritually hurt, and even though they say, yeah, we know, or hey, we acknowledge that, I worry sometimes because you never know what the next case is going to be, and you never know what kind of people you may run into in the process. So I very much worry sometimes. We've had relationships within the team sort of um, be turbulent at times when we're dealing with heavier cases, I've noticed. So, I mean, I'm the founder and I'm the director of the team, so I kind of treat them like they're my like they're my cubs, so to speak, and I'm the mama bear, and you don't mess with the mama bear, essentially. I would say read. Read as many books as you can get your hands on. Don't read the books. Don't just read the books by the people who've been on TV. Look into the people who have pioneered the field. Like Hans Holzer, or read books by people who are trying to come up with new theories about the paranormal or new methodologies. Definitely read. I think one of the most rewarding parts of getting into this field was it's made me a lot more open-minded and not necessarily, I don't want to say knowledgeable because I don't want to come across as a smug, but it's made me much more aware of the paranormal community and what sort of theories are out there when it comes to, what a ghost is and how far people are in terms of trying to once and for all define ghosts and spirits and demons, but also find the actual proof. So, and you won't really know what's going on unless you're reading. So don't let the TV be your only source of research. Go to the library, hit up Amazon, pick up a book and see where the roots of ghost hunting came from, and see where it might be headed in the future. Okay. Uh, for me, it's all about will and intent. I've heard numerous people that I very much respect and admire say that, and I completely agree with them. How much you put into the Ouija board or spirit boxes is what you're going to get out of it. There is a right way to do things. If you just bust out the Ouija board and start asking questions and then just like tossing it to the side or setting it on fire or something, it's not going to be a good result. So I definitely think that they could be useful tools in terms of investigating. It's another way of asking a question. It's another avenue to go, and you just really got to know what you're doing. And for me, there's not much of a difference between using a Ouija board and doing an EVP session. I mean, you're still asking questions and expecting some sort of response. I just think because of the movies like The Exorcist or Ouija and oh gosh, there's so many other or Amityville Horror, or I just think because of the whole mainstream horror movie scene that Ouija boards have gotten a really bad rap. But and same and spirit boxes are, I mean, essentially you're asking questions and trying to listen for a response as well. They can be useful tools, they can be productive tools. You just need to know what you're doing. I have to say I've gotten a lot of results with my Shack Hack or with my Ghost Box, or Spirit Box, I guess you can call it too. With the broken radio and whatnot. I've gotten really interesting results from that, and I take it with me on every investigation. Even I actually prefer it when I'm at a location where I actually don't get a radio signal at all, and it's just blank dead air. Because then the voices that do come through, then there's something to that. Let's see. When it comes to EMF detectors or K2 meters, those can be. I'm not a big fan of them just because there's so many variables that can change how they change the results. Like if you put a K2 meter next to your cell phone, it will go off. If you put the K2 meter next to some electrical wiring, it's going to go off. So I think, or even if there's a surge of energy, it will go off. So I think that with the K2 EMF devices, there's too many variables for that. Now, when it comes to REM pods, considering that they won't go off until I actually put my hand on them, when they do go off, I will very much pay attention to it. So I think there could be something to that, but like I said, I've yet to see it go off. I look forward to the day when I see that. The other thing I want to say, I guess it's the Ovilus, the device that makes the words pop up. I find that one to be interesting as well, just because, granted, the word that pops up could be a coincidence, but at the same time, if a word pops up and you go with it, you take that as your cue to ask different questions or to go in another angle with how you're talking to whatever presence it is, then to me it's worth it. So if it provokes I guess you can say provoke. If it evokes, there you go, evokes a response, then there you go. Okay, well, there was a case that we had in California. It was on a military base, and the neighborhood itself was believed to have been a vortex or a portal of all this different, paranormal activity. With how military neighborhoods work is, one, the documents are sealed, but two, military communities are very tight knit. So there was actually community boards dedicated to this neighborhood, and people would say, "Hey, did you see a ghost?" Or, "Hey, did you ever see an old lady walking down the street?" Or, "Hey, did you ever encounter a little boy's ghost in house 105?" These people would actually converse and exchange stories. And so when we actually had a case in this neighborhood, it was a new family that moved in. Oh gosh, maybe a couple months ago, a couple months previous, but they had a small child. His name. I'm not going to say his name. He was about 2 or 3 years old, really little kid. But he kept seeing a monster in his closet, or an older adult in his closet, and he named him Shane. And granted, we thought initially maybe we were dealing with a soldier that had passed away overseas or on base, but how many soldiers are named Shane? We're not going to really find anything there. But we decided we're going to look into the case anyway, and as soon as we walked into the house, there was a heaviness in the air, and then we go upstairs, we went into the child's room, and heaviness on the chest. We left an audio recorder in the closet where the activity was happening, and once we reviewed it, we kept hearing a man whispering through the audio, kept saying the child's name, kept hissing, and it was really bizarre. And I was kind of sitting there, I'm like, I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. And we did an investigation, and we actually heard growling. Walls were getting banged. The child's bed was being hit while I or another investigator was in it. It wasn't good. And we had a lot of turbulent things happen in our personal lives as well. And the child actually said that this thing wanted to hurt me and another team member. And so we basically pulled the big guns out when it came to cleansings and blessings. We actually brought in a pagan high priestess who did a very thorough cleansing and blessing of the house. And then come to find out from the neighbors because this house was a duplex style house. It was a 2-story house, but they shared a wall, but it shared a wall with another house. But we found out that the child, an older child that shared the wall with our client's child, was seeing an old woman in the closet. So, yeah, that one, but they didn't really want to pursue an investigation because they saw how complex their neighbor's case was, but it was really alarming. It was actually one of the first times I felt threatened. I felt like this was actually following me home at times, following my team members. My team members started to see really weird things, like at work or in their homes. I was having trouble sleeping. So this was one of those cases where it bled into our personal lives as well. And once the cleansing and the blessing was done, I mean, things calmed down, but we were very changed from that case. So, jeez. Oh boy. Okay. I'm going to, I guess, speak. Oh gosh, what's the word for it? I'm going to try to keep this as non-academic as possible. I feel that ghosts exist because, well, there could be a variety of different reasons. There could be, there's the classic unfinished business. But I also think that perhaps they're not ready to move on, wherever that move on is. I mean, whether you believe in heaven or hell or enlightenment or I don't know. I know for me, I mean, I've had a pretty good life so far, and I know when I pass on, I'm going to be very sad about this life being over. With all of the relationships I've created, with the friendships I've created, the people I've met, I will be very saddened when that's over. The world is still changing and evolving, and I'd love to live forever and see that happen, to see how it changes. But it's not possible. We all die. So for me, I feel like ghosts exist because, well, for me, they want to stick around. They want to see what's going to happen to this world. They still maybe even want to feel alive for a moment. They want to try to converse with the living, or they return back to a site that meant a lot to them. It could have been a battlefield. It could have been a home, where they felt, a home where they felt their family was together again. I think really it's that attempt to feel human again and not accept really where they're at, not accept where they're at spiritually. Or even they're trying to find a chance to redeem themselves, so to speak, if their passing wasn't a positive one, or they have some regrets in life. So, I don't know. I know for me, if I were to be a ghost, it's because I want to stick around and watch life and watch it as it evolves and changes and moves. I'll be honest, I don't think there's ever been a time where I didn't believe in ghosts. Now I've run into cases where I don't think it's haunted, but it doesn't mean that I don't believe in ghosts. There have been times, I don't think so. I grew up in a very religious household. Now my family is from, I'm not from there, but my family is from a little river town in Kentucky. It's in the tri-state area between West Virginia and Ohio. So it's a small town. But they have a very blind faith, so to speak. I'm not saying blind in a bad way. It's just that's all they know is Christianity, so to speak. But there was a lot of weird stuff that happened in that town spiritually. I had some of my most profound experiences there when I was a child, and I would tell my mama, my grandmother, and they said, "Yeah, that happened," and they would just move on with their day. The paranormal was very much accepted, but no one ever did anything about it. So it was just a fact of life. So I guess to answer your question, I don't think there's ever been a time where I wasn't a believer. Now, there are times I'm skeptical, but I'm a believer. I so badly want to find that tangible proof to make others a believer too. Okay. I actually have two books coming up. One of them is self-published, and it's actually a guide on how to investigate client cases. I feel that hopefully this will be useful for ghost hunters and for anyone who wants to take on cases and help people with their paranormal phenomenon. And I want to give them my perspective on how it should be done based on essentially the horror stories of my own team, like where we messed up, so to speak. So basically it's a don't learn from my mistakes type of thing, and this is why I feel the way that I do. That's hopefully going to be coming out in the next month or two, so January or February it'll be coming out. And then I actually have a book coming out about the 10th Avenue Theater, the place where I got grabbed. That book will be coming out on October 8th, 2015, and it's going to be published by Llewellyn Worldwide. And I'm actually very excited about that one because that place is like the Disneyland of paranormal phenomenon for me. So there's always something new coming up. There's always something happening there. So I'm very excited about that. And then I also host a radio show called The Wicked Domain on liveparanormal.com. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Besides, I'll make the appearances at conventions, gatherings, and whatnot.
White eyes gleam